This Fox News alert is Kim Jong-un calling President Trump's bluff tonight. We are waiting for direct word now from the president if he chooses to speak in response. What is his next move now that Kim Jong-un appears to be threatening to call off the summit if the United States doesn't stop military exercises with the South? Here's Heather Nauert at the State Department responding.
They're exercises that are legal. They're planned well in advance. We have not heard anything from that government.
This about-face comes on the heels of huge concessions that began at the Olympics and kept right on going through the release of our hostages. So what is up? Mark Thiessen, Michael Malice, and Ambassador Dennis Ross, who served under 5 different presidents, all here to respond tonight. But first, Chris, here now, Mark Thiessen, American Enterprise Institute scholar and Fox News contributor, and Michael Malice, author of Dear Reader, the unauthorized autobiography of Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's father. Good to see both of you tonight.
Good to be with you,
Mark, let me start with you. What do you make of this move?
Well, there's a number of possibilities. I mean, one of them could be that Kim Jong-un is looking for a way out of this thing. You know, the fact is Trump has pretty much boxed him in pretty quickly. He accepted the offer for a summit a lot faster than anyone thought. Kim probably wants an agreement like the Iran nuclear deal, which has sanctions and cash up front, no real inspection regime, no restrictions on ballistic missiles and the like, and sunset clauses. And Trump sent a message last week that that's not going to happen. He doesn't cut deals like that. And then Secretary Pompeo went out and made a stunning offer, which is to say that if he gives up his nuclear weapons, we will help them gain prosperity on par with that of South Korea. That is a destabilizing offer, because if Kim goes to a summit and turns that down, he's responsible for the misery of the North Korean people. So he may be looking for a way to get out of this thing.
Michael, you've been studying this regime for a long time.
Right.
How do you read this move?
Well, notice that this has been done publicly instead of behind the scenes. It hasn't been, you know, there's back channels for a long time now between the U.S. and North Korea, between North Korea and South Korea. The fact that they're not giving us a heads up, even though these exercises have been held since the 70s at the very least, North Korea always complains about its provocation. There was a pause at several points many years ago. So this is just nonsense. This is their attempt to very effectively humiliate us and also to embarrass us, because now you have the State Department going on TV and saying, we don't know what's going on. So that makes us look like fools, and that's something that they do very effectively, is to play people.
You know, but I can't help but wonder if this is sort of the negotiation tool, right? Because, because a lot of these concessions are things that the president has been able to tout, right? Well, they gave us this, they gave us that. So, you know, Kim Jong-un is a leader. He's a young leader. He's surrounded by advisors and people who are perhaps pushing back at this idea to a certain extent. And I wonder if some of this isn't just his way, Michael, of saying, you know what? We're coming to the table, but you know, we're going to hold a bit back here, and now we're a little bit upset about these exercises. It's a bargaining chip.
Well, it is a bargaining chip, but again, this is not exercise that just happened overnight, and these are things that have been planned months in advance. North Korea boasts in their literature that when necessary, they will slap America across the face, and now Kim Jong-un can go forward to his people in the propaganda and say, look, we made fools out of them, and I stood up to the U.S. and to South Korea at the same time, so don't think I'm weak in giving up anything.
All right, this is John Brennan with his response today to what happened, and he never misses an opportunity to be critical of President Trump, so he took an opportunity this afternoon to do this. This turn of events is unsurprising, since Donald Trump seems enamored with a fire aim ready policy-making process that is fraught with pitfalls as well as potential disasters. Not sure when, if ever, Mr. Trump will realize that he is not the smartest man or even the best negotiator in the world. Indeed, far from it. Mark Thiessen.
That's remarkable. I mean, John Brennan, as you say, never misses an opportunity to politicize national security. I mean, look, there's something going on here, and we have to figure out what it is. And another possibility, quite frankly, is that Kim Jong-un is probing Donald Trump to see if he could. This is a typical North Korean tactic, which is to make nice and then all of a sudden threaten to take your marbles and go home. And he wants to see, can he get Trump to scale back the exercises? Can he get a fissure with South Korea? The South Korean president is a supporter of this sunshine policy. Maybe he sprinkles a little rain on the sunshine policy and it goes away. Or finally, it's possible that Kim is not that strong. We don't know all that much about how solidified he is in his leadership, and this could be a sign of weakness on his part.
Here's an interesting headline that came out from CNN. In the middle of all this, while we were waiting for the White House response, this story: Trump sought to evacuate military families from South Korea right before the Olympics. And it goes on, Michael, to sort of describe this back and forth between the Pentagon and the president right before the Olympics. Olympics, he said, you know, maybe we should pull these families out, because we all remember during that time we had just watched, you know, several very provocative missile launches, and there was discussion that that a military option was perhaps on the table. So what do you read into that?
Well, North Korea, when they take hostages, they always have some kind of dubious explanation, because then they can later return them in exchange for ransom, whatever. The military, it'd be easy to say with a straight face, look, you know, these are enemies, so we're taking them for a reason. But just let me briefly address Brendan's comment. If you're dealing with nuclear weapons, of course disasters is on the table. That's exactly why you have those negotiations. So the idea that you're going to have these negotiations and it's going to be fine automatically is nonsense.
Mark?
I agree with that entirely. I mean, look, but of course, the only way we can have a successful negotiation, I mean, Kim has no intention of giving up his nuclear weapons, just like his father had no intention of giving up his nuclear weapons when he duped the Clinton administration. The only way you have a chance of a successful negotiation of any kind is if the threat of military force is on the table and the North Koreans believe it's a live, real threat. So by definition, any negotiation, the alternative to negotiation is going to be military action.
I get that, but they've made a lot of concessions, and you see Mike Pompeo, the new Secretary of State, come back. He said they had these warm discussions. They realize they're both working on, you know, behalf of their own country, and they have their own interests at heart. And there seems to be, you know, from a number of folks that we've spoken to over the course of the last weeks on this, the indication that perhaps Kim Jong-un is looking for a slightly different path for North Korea at this point. And if he wants that, he is going to have to come to this summit. Michael?
Well, there is some truth to that. Maybe China's putting pressure on him on the back end. But at the point, the concerns of the concessions, it doesn't matter what they say. It matters what they do. We've gotten 3 hostages. There's 25 million left, which are the North Korean people. So they can promise us the world, but they boast that they lie when necessary to get what they want. They've done this for many years. They played Russia and China against each other. So again, these are people who lie, cheat, and steal to maintain their hold on power. And they have to, because when these countries liberalize, it's often the leaders at the top who are personally murdered, like Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein.
I've seen that. Michael Malice, Mark Thiessen, thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you
Thanks,
both.
Martha.